لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah, today we are gathered here for a very important reason. We know these months, this month of Ramadan and these nights of Ramadan are very special. And we don't know which Ramadan will be our last one. So take this moment, take this night, and treat it like you don't know if you're going to have another night like this. And we knew your intention in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know that the benefit from our deeds is from the intentions. So we're going to take just a few moments, inshallah, everyone in this room, some silence. We knew your intentions. Remember that the companions, they used to compete with each other on making the most amount of good intentions, because they know that the more good intentions they have for a specific deed, the more reward there is. So think, I'm here because I want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm here because I want to learn something beneficial. I'm here because I want to increase my sisterhood. I'm here because I want to repent. I'm here because I want to find something I'm doing wrong and change it. Think to yourself. We're going to take 30 seconds, and we knew the intention, inshallah, will resume afterwards. So the prophet that we're going to talk about today, inshallah, is one of the most amazing anbiya. Actually, once one of the companions came to the Prophet Muhammad and he said to the prophet, he said, "You are a great prophet." And the Prophet he said, "No, Ibrahim is." And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, inshallah. We're going to reflect on some of the stories in the Quran and what an amazing example he was for us. What an amazing, subhanAllah, the way that he dealt with different situations that are applicable to us today. A lot of times, it's a shame. We treat the stories of our history that were reality, that were truth, as if they were folk tales. And subhanAllah, that was actually the attitude of the mushrikeen. The mushrikeen used to say, هَذَا أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. These are just old fables. So we cannot make the same mistake when we look at our prophets and when we look at the history of Islam. We have to realize this is reality. This actually happened. These conversations, these miracles, they were real. They're not asatir al-awwaleen. So again, when we look at Ibrahim salam, realize this was a man with bones, blood, living flesh, walking, breathing on the earth just like the rest of us. And the things that he did are an example. And the trials that he saw are very similar, subhanAllah, very, very similar to the trials we see. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't mention anything in the Quran without a reason. And it's so amazing that when you look at the situations Ibrahim salam faced, we have very similar situations. We have very similar challenges, similar feelings in the face of those challenges. What we will see over and over again in the story of Ibrahim is that he truly was Khalilullah. He was the close, intimate friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's also referred to as a one-man ummah. And the reason is that he was someone who called continuously to Islam and people would follow him. And he was always in a state of speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, munajat, depending on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, you see that in any situation he faced, his tamassuk billah, how much he held on, that islam billah, is something to reflect on. SubhanAllah, we have very similar challenges. And the first one that I want to mention is something that we see today in America. Ibrahim's father was not only an idolater, he was the one who made the idols. He was a constructor of the idols. And on top of that, he wanted Ibrahim to be a priest in the temple. So his father is like the head of the mushrikeen. He has a position amongst them, and he is dedicated to their cause. And Ibrahim is in a situation where his father is telling him, this is my way, follow it. And subhanAllah, many times amongst young people or converts, especially in America, you find young people who are in very difficult situations. A sister who wants to wear hijab, and her parents hide it from her, throw it in the garbage. I've heard horrible stories. I heard a story of a father who said, "If I see you wearing hijab in public, I will beat you in my home." And the sister still wore it. She accepted the beat. SubhanAllah, sometimes a person can't even find the comfort within their own family. And on top of that, There are Muslim families, subhanAllah, that we have to talk about. That deep down, they're worshipping money. They're worshipping lots and lots of money. So the message they keep sending their children is, do anything possible. Go and become this position only for the sake of money. All of their parameters are off. They don't say you were created as a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Choose a job where you can be a better servant to Him. Choose thinking about ibadah, not thinking about money. And subhanAllah, again, to think, every single one of us, in our own families, sometimes a young person has to make a conscious decision not to follow the way of their forefathers. Just because your relatives do it, just because your cousins do it, just because everybody else is doing it, your parents are doing it, doesn't mean you have to do it. And Ibrahim was someone who set this example. So one of the things that we learn from Ibrahim is that he understood the stages of da'wah. He didn't first go and break the idols. It's not the very first thing he did. Actually, the first thing he did was try to set an example, to call people in directly. And subhanAllah, a lot of times we hear the story that he was young and he went and he saw the stars and he said, this is my Lord. Then he saw the moon, he said, this is my Lord. Then he saw the sun and he said, this is my Lord. It wasn't that he was actually believing that the sun or the moon or the stars could possibly be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was that he was trying to show the people an example of searching for Allah. So he went in front of them and deliberately said, Hada Rabbi, when he saw the stars. And when he saw the stars disappear, he said, I don't worship those things that disappear. Then he saw the moon rising and he said, Hada Rabbi. Then he says afterwards, in the presence of the people, he says, I don't worship things that set, when the moon sets. And on top of that, subhanAllah, he says, Oh Allah, if you don't guide me, I will surely be from the misguided, from the dhaleen. He's saying all of this in front of the people. He's trying to say, look, this is what we're supposed to be feeling. We're supposed to be asking for guidance. We're supposed to be searching for it. We should feel afraid to be from the dhaleen. And so he's setting this example. And then when he sees the sun and he says, oh, this is bigger, the akbar. This is my Lord. And when the sun sets, he says, no, my Lord is the one who created all of this, and I submit to Him. SubhanAllah, the immense power of trying to set an example. Even the humility of trying to show people that you're in search, that none of us are completely there yet. All of us are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 17 times a day, guide us to the straight path. And putting that example out there, that you're searching, that you're sincere. And this is the first thing to start with, not debate. You don't start off with, the Trinity doesn't make sense, all the stuff. You show the Christian that you are closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than they are. That you have more happiness in your worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than they are. You have more peace and sakina with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than they do. That your Lord, your worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings you answers in your life, and you set that example. That is the first thing each and every one of us can take from the story of Ibrahim, is the power of example. And subhanAllah, there's a story we heard from Imam Suhaib, who he mentioned that on a high school campus, one of the non-Muslims saw Muslim girls wearing hijab. And it impressed him, because he thought, in this society, where, what do they worship as an idol? What do women worship as a false idol? They worship beauty, they worship anorexia, they worship, a lot, sex appeal. They worship all of these things. And there are a group of women who are, denying all of that. They're in high school, young people who are saying, no, we choose modesty, we choose respect, we choose all of these dignities that society doesn't want us to choose. And he thought something in that example was powerful. So powerful that it led him to study Islam, and he says, that's why I became Muslim. So subhanAllah, the power of your example, never underestimate it. The second thing that we can take from Ibrahim is his izzah, that he was a very proud Muslim. He was someone who was proud of his message, and he didn't fear anyone except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says, وَلَا أَخَافُ مَا تُشْرِكُونَ بِهِ, and I do not fear what you are associating shirk with. I don't fear it. And he also asked them, what